So yeah, I am the first presenter. My name is Ben Pun. I am the lead pastor of Anchor Community Church. And first I just want to say that I think our story has a lot of unique factors that really all came together for God to make our story work. And so I don't think this will probably apply to all of your situations, but I think there are things in our story that could be things that you can learn from, and that kind of line up a lot with what Steve just shared. So I'm just going to share our story, and hopefully some of those factors will come out. So, first let me talk about the Chinese church that we came out of. The Chinese church is called First Evangelical Church of Diamond Bar, part of the FECA Association. There's some FECA people here. And it was founded in 1999 by Pastor Albert Wong. And this is a picture of, I think, the Cantonese congregation, very cautious, like most Chinese congregations with COVID. And so it's a typical medium-sized Chinese church, 3 congregations, Cantonese, Mandarin, and they have English congregation. I've always had like an English congregation as well. And so the timeline, you can go to the timeline here. So 1999, it was planted. I came in 2011, so 12 years later. And I came in as the English pastor. And at that time, the congregation is pretty small, just basically a group of like 20 young adults, all young adults and college students. I think that's a very unique situation for us. I didn't have an older generation to really shepherd. And one of the main reasons I even accepted this position was because I really felt the senior pastor, Albert Wong, was a very open-minded, forward-thinking Chinese pastor. I could really sense that. When I was interviewing, I asked him, what if I planted the English congregation as a church in the future? And without hesitation, he said, I would be open for that. And so I sensed that there was a real openness to us, and he really did let me have a lot of latitude, freedom. You know, we didn't have too many like obligations or combined services, that kind of thing, like 1 per year. And so for the first 5 years, I was just the typical English pastor. And I think during that time, my role was really just to bring stability to that congregation. That had a lot of turnover before I came, like most English congregations do. And I think during that time, I earned both the trust of this group that I was shepherding, and also the trust of Pastor Wong and the Chinese leaders. And I think that was indispensable for what I would do in the future. And so in 2016, 5 years, and basically at that point, I was even telling myself, like, you know, I've been here for 5 years. What do I want to do in the future? And I looked at our community, and I think that we were a stable group, but I really felt like we were pretty complacent. You know, a group of young adults, very used to kind of living in mom and dad's basement, basically, right? Like, we have this little group of young adults. We have our room. The mom and dad pays all the bills. We don't really have to do much, you know? And I felt like there wasn't really a sense of mission and also a maturity, you know. And I felt like we really needed to make a bold move at this point to be truly missional, to really reach our friends with the gospel, and to grow in our responsibility. And also for myself, I felt like if I'm going to stay here, I feel like I, for myself, need to at least try to do something bold. And so first thing is I talked to my senior pastor, and we had a good relationship. We have a good relationship. And I said, my proposal, you know, I hear about all these different models that have been, is to do the church plant thing, but to keep the relationship. Kind of like a townhouse model, you know, so that they wouldn't have to start a new English congregation. So we would still take care of the youth. And from the very beginning, my senior pastor was completely on board, completely. I think he told me that it's like, you know, I've been here for, 20 years, and I've seen all these English pastors come and go. I've seen the, just attendance just continue to go up and down. He's like, I feel like we need to do something different. So this only works because of Pastor Albert Wong. He championed the church plant for me. He didn't just like okay with it, kind of allow me to do it. He championed it. He helped me cast the vision to the Chinese congregation. So for like several months, me and him just worked together, coming up with this presentation that I would present to the board of directors. I, really worked hard on having a lot of details in my proposal. And Chinese people love the PowerPoint presentations and the details. So I worked really hard, and he helped me. And so then when I finally, I came to that board meeting, I went through this long PowerPoint presentation. We went around the room, all these older, uncles, and what do you guys think? Every single one of them said, you should do this, Ben. And I really was blown away. Yeah, I really feel like this was the Holy Spirit, And I think a lot of it was because they knew me. I've been there for 5 years. And I'm not this kind of, also talking about personality and calling, I don't think I'm a kind of like this very bulldozer kind of type A personality. And I think they knew I'm not just here to kind of like do my thing. And so, for a year, we really kind of just planted this new vision, re-envisioned our church, re-envisioned our mission statement, re-envisioned our leadership structure. We did lots of outreach projects. I really planted the vision. The reason we're doing this is to reach our friends. And, really pretty amazing. I really saw this group of, at the time, 35 young adults really get energized for the first time. They really, this is our mission, to reach our friends. And we just needed everyone, all hands on deck. And these young people just, they rose up to the challenge. They're excited, really, I feel like for the first time in a while. And when we planted, we pretty immediately doubled in size. Preview services went from 35 to 70 immediately because they were just inviting their friends. They were so excited. And so now, that was 2017. We planted at an elementary school 5 minutes away. And you can actually go to the Google Maps thing. We actually started at a different elementary school. We eventually are now at this elementary school. It's 5 minutes away. So it's just down the street. And you can go to the pictures. Just look at our setup here. So this is the elementary school. We meet there, made it our own. You can see from the outside, we have a sign. We do all that setup. It's really our own unique identity. And so now we're 5 years in. We've grown to be about 100 now, and we're still attracting a lot of young adults in their 20s. But I think we're also growing a little older with young families. This 5 years, we've really matured. We have our own membership process. We have our own elders. And I've seen how that has really made us take ownership and mature as these young adults. But here's how the partnership works. We've maintained the partnership with the youth ministry. And so FECDB formally oversees the youth ministry and the youth pastor, the full-time youth pastor who's there, but it really is a partnership. The youth pastor and I work together very closely. We actively recruit youth workers. And so the youth workers, they commit to helping on Friday nights. On Sundays, the youth have their own youth program and service at the Chinese church. But once a month, they come and worship with us. So they get dropped off. They have rides down the street. Parents do it. And so actually we even came up with a written agreement. It's not a legally binding agreement, but we said, hey, these are the things we're going to commit to. And actually, there's we're going to always recruit youth workers, even a minimum number of youth workers. And we committed that we're going to have semi-annual meetings together to discuss between their leadership and our leadership to check in on the partnership. And so actually just January of this year, we became fully independent, fully financially, legally independent. And this is a story that's being continually written. We're only 5 years in, so I'm sure different situations will arise in the future. But I think right now, I think both of us, both the Chinese church and us, we're proud of the partnership. And we hope to continue to strengthen it. And so that's the story, Duncan.